Indonesia has a long history that is summarized in a short documentation, but before you start, if you like this video, click on like and subscribe by activating the bell notification. The proclamation of Indonesian independence was held on Friday, August 17, 1945 AD, or on August 17, 2605 according to the Japanese year, which was read by Sukarno accompanied by doctors. Muhammad Hatta was housed in a grant house from Faraoy bin Said bin Awad Martak on Jalan Pegangsan Timur 56, Central Jakarta. 1. The words and declaration of the proclamation must balance the interests of the conflicting internal interests of Indonesia and Japan at that time. 2. The proclamation marked the start of diplomatic and armed resistance from the Indonesian National Revolution, which fought against Dutch forces and pro-Dutch civilians, until the Netherlands officially recognized Indonesian independence in 1949. 3. In 2005, the Netherlands declared that they had decided to accept de facto on August 17, 1945 as the date of Indonesian independence. 4. However, on September 14, 2011, a Dutch court ruled in the Rawaged massacre that the Netherlands was responsible for having the duty to defend its inhabitants, which also indicated that the area was part of the Dutch East Indies, contrary to Indonesia's claim of August 17, 1945 as the date of its independence. 5. In a 2013 interview, Indonesian historian Sukotjo, among others, asked the Dutch government to officially recognize the date of independence on August 17, 1945. 6. The United Nations recognizes December 27, 1949 as the date of Indonesian independence. 7. The manuscript of the proclamation was signed by Sukarno, who wrote his name as Sukarno using Dutch orthography, and Muhammad Hatta, 8, who was subsequently appointed as president and vice president successively a day after the proclamation was read. 9. 10. Independence Day was made a national holiday through a government decree issued on June 18, 1946.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Hiroshima in Japan by the United States, which began to demoralize the morale of Japanese soldiers around the world. A day later, the Indonesian National Independence Preparatory Agency for Investigation PUPKI, Japan, Dokuritsu Sakai, changed its name to PPKI, Indonesian Independence Preparatory Committee, Japan, Dokuritsu Bayangkai, to further emphasize the desires and goals achieve Indonesian independence. On August 9, 1945, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, causing Japan to surrender to the United States and its allies. This moment was also used by Indonesia to proclaim its independence. 12. Sukarno, Hatta as the leader of PPKI and Rajaman Wadayattiningrat as former chairman of PUPKI were flown to Dalat, 250 kilometers northeast of Saigon, Vietnam, to meet Marshal Terauke. They were reported that Japanese troops were on the verge of defeat and would grant independence to Indonesia. 13. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, on August 10, 1945, Sultan Syahrir had heard on the radio that Japan had surrendered to the Allies. Underground fighters prepared to proclaim Indonesian independence, and rejected the form of independence given as a Japanese gift. 14. On August 12, 1945, Japan through Marshal Terauke in Dalat, Vietnam, told Sukarno, Hatta, and Rajaman that the Japanese government would immediately grant independence to Indonesia and the proclamation of independence could be carried out within a few days, based on the PPKI team. 12:15. Nevertheless, Terauke, Japan's highest minister in Southeast Asia and son of former Prime Minister Terauke Masatake, wanted the proclamation to be held on August 24, 1945. 16. 2 days later, when Sukarno, Hatta and Rajaman returned to their homeland from Dalat, Sultan Syahrir urged Sukarno to immediately declare independence because he considered the outcome of the meeting in Dalat a Japanese ruse, because Japan had surrendered to the Allies, and to avoid divisions within the nationalist camp, Between anti and Japanese pros 17 Hata told CRR about the results of the meeting in Dalat. 18 Sukarno was not convinced that Japan had indeed surrendered, and the proclamation of Indonesia's independence at that time could have caused huge bloodshed, and could have fatal consequences if Indonesian fighters were not ready. Sukarno reminded Hatta that CRR had no right to proclaim independence because it was the right of the Indonesian Independence Preparatory Committee, PPKI. Meanwhile, CRR considers PPKI to be a Japanese-made body and the proclamation of independence by PPKI is only a gift from Japan.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
On August 14, 1945, Japan officially surrendered to the Allies on the USS Missouri ship. 20 The Japanese Army and Navy are still in power in Indonesia because Japan has promised to return power in Indonesia to the Allies. Sultan Syahrir, Wikina, Darwish, and Cherul Saleh heard this news on BBC Radio. After hearing the rumors of Japan going to its knees, the young group urged the old group to immediately proclaim Indonesia's independence. But the old people do not want to rush. They did not want bloodshed during the proclamation. Consultation was also carried out in the form of PPKI meetings. The young group did not approve of the meeting, considering PPKI was a body formed by Japan. They want independence for the efforts of our own people, not Japanese gifts. Sukarno and Hatta approached the Japanese military authorities, Gunsei, to obtain confirmation at his office in Koningsplein, Medan Merdeka. But the office is empty. Sukarno and Hatta together with Suibarjo then went to the office of Bukanfu, Rear Admiral Maida, on Jalan Medan Merdeka Utara, Maida's house on Jalan Imam Bonjol 1. Maida welcomed them with congratulations on their success in Dalat. While answering, he has not received confirmation and is still waiting for instructions from Tokyo. Coming home from Maida, Sukarno and Hatta immediately prepared a meeting for the Indonesian Independence Preparatory Committee, PPKI, at 10 a.m. on August 16 the following day at Jalan Pejamban No office. 2. To discuss everything related to the preparation for the proclamation of independence. 17. A day later, the turmoil of pressure that demanded the takeover of power by Indonesia increasingly mounted by young people from several groups. The PPKI meeting on August 16 at 10 o'clock in the morning was not held because Sukarno and Hatta did not show up.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
The young warriors, including Cherul Saleh, Sukarni, and Wikina, were burning with heroism after discussing with Ibrahim the title Datuk Tan Malaka, joined in the underground movement, losing patience. In the early hours of August 16, 1945, they together with Shot Anko Singh, a member of PETA, and other youths, brought Sukarno, along with Fatmawati and Guntur who were only 9 months old, and Hatta, to Rengastenglok, which became known as the Rengastenglok incident. The aim is that Ir Sukarno and Drs. Mo. Hatta was not influenced by Japan. Here, they reassured Sukarno that Japan had surrendered and the fighters were ready to fight Japan, whatever the risk. 21 In Jakarta, the young group, Wikina, and the older group, namely Ahmad Suibarjo, negotiated. Ahmad Suibarjo agreed to proclaim Indonesia's independence in Jakarta. So Yusuf Kunto was sent to take Ahmad Suibarjo to Rengastenglok. They picked up Ir Sukarno and Drs. Mo. Hatta returned to Jakarta. 22 Ahmad Suibarjo succeeded in convincing the youth not to rush to proclaim independence. After arriving in Jakarta, they returned to their respective homes. Considering that Hotel de Inns, now a shopping complex in Harmony, cannot be used for meetings after 10 p.m., then Admiral Maida's offer to use his house, now the building of the Proclamation Text Formulation Museum, as a place for PPKI meetings was accepted by Indonesian leaders. 23-24 Sukarno/Hatta's meeting with Major Nishimura and Rear Admiral Maida in the evening. Sukarno and Hatta returned to Jakarta. Major General Moichiro Yamamoto, the 16th Army Chief of Staff, Army, who became the head of the Japanese military government, Gunsekan, in the Dutch East Indies, did not want to accept Sukarno-Hatta, who was escorted by Tadashi Maeda, and ordered that Major General Otoshi Nishimura, head of the government's public affairs department, the Japanese military, to accept the arrival of the group. Nishimura stated that from noon on August 16, 1945, an order had been received from Tokyo that Japan must maintain the status quo, unable to give permission to prepare for the proclamation of Indonesian independence as promised by Marshal Terauchi in Dalat, Vietnam. Sukarno and Hatta regretted the decision and quipped Nishimura whether it was the attitude of an officer who was passionate about Bushido, breaking promises to be pitted by the Allies. Finally, Sukarno-Hatta requested that Nishimura not obstruct the work of the PPKI, perhaps by pretending not to know. Seeing the heated debate, Maeda quietly left the room because he was warned by Nishimura that Maeda obeyed Tokyo's orders, and he knew that as a Navy liaison officer, Kaigun, in the Army, Rakugun, area, he had no authority to decide.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
After leaving Nishimura's house, Sukarno-Hatta headed for Admiral Maeda's house, now Imambanjal Street No. 1, accompanied by Shunkichiro Mayashi, to hold a meeting to prepare the text of the proclamation. After greeting Sukarno-Hatta, who had been left arguing with Nishimura, Maeda retired to his bedroom. The preparation of the proclamation text was carried out by Sukarno, Muhammad Hatta, and Ahmad Soe Bartjo, and witnessed by Soe Karni, B.M. Daya, Sudiaro, Mba, and Sayuddin Melik. Mayashi, who was half drunk, sat in the back seat listening to the compilation of the text, but then there was a sentence from Shijitaten Nishijima as if he were interfering in the preparation of the text of the proclamation and suggested that the transfer of power only meant administrative power. About this, Bung Karno asserted that the transfer of power meant transfer of power. Bung Hatta, Subartjo, B.M. Daya, Sukarni, Sudiaro, and Sayuddin Malik did not confirm the claims of Nishijima, but in some quarters the claims of Nishijima were still touted. After the concept had been agreed upon, Sayuddin copied and typed the text, using a typewriter taken from the German Navy's representative office, owned by Major C. Dr. Hermann Kandeler. Initially, the reading of the proclamation will be carried out at Akata Field, but due to security reasons being transferred to Soe Karno's residence, Jalan Pagangsan Timur 56, now Jalan Proclamation No. 1.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
Negotiations between the young and old groups in the preparation of the text of the Proclamation of Indonesian Independence took place at 02:00, 04:00 in the morning. The text of the proclamation was written in the dining room of Admiral Tadashi Maeda, Jalan Imambanjal No. 1. The compilers of the proclamation text were Ir Soe Karno, Drs. Muhammad Hatta, and Ahmad Soe Bartjo. The concept of the proclamation text was written by Ir Sukarno himself. In the front room, there were B.M. Daya, Sayuddin Melik, Sukarni, and Sudiaro. Sukarni suggested that the one who signed the text of the proclamation be Ir Soe Karno and Drs. Muhammad Hatta on behalf of the Indonesian people. The text of the Indonesian proclamation was typed by Sayuddin Melik. In the morning, August 17, 1945, at Soe Karno's residence, Jalan Pagangsan Timur 56 was present, including Sudiarjo, Wilapo, Gafar Pringgodigdo, Tabrani, and Trimurti. The program began at 10 o'clock with the reading of the proclamation by Sukarno and continued with a short speech without text. Then the red and white flag, which had been sewn by Mrs. Fatmawati, was hoisted, followed by remarks by Sudiarjo, the deputy mayor of Jakarta at the time, and Mowardi, leader of Barisan Pelopor.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
At first Trimurti was asked to raise the flag, but he refused on the grounds that flag raising should be done by a soldier. Therefore Lady of Handranengrad, a PETA soldier, was assisted by Soeod for the task. A young woman appeared from behind carrying a tray containing the red and white flag, sang Saka Merapuda, which had been sewn by Fatmawati a few days earlier. After the flag flew, the audience sang the song Indonesia Raya. Until now, The heirloom flag is still stored in the National Monument. After the ceremony was over, about 100 members of the Barisan Pelopor group led by S. Breda arrived in a hurry because they did not know the sudden change of place from Makeda to Pagangsan. They demanded that Sukarno repeat the reading of the proclamation, but was refused. Finally Hatta gave a short message to them.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
On August 18, 1945, the Indonesian Independence Preparatory Committee, PPKI, made a decision, ratified and established the Basic Law, UUD, as the basis of the Republic of Indonesia, hereinafter known as the 1945 Constitution. NKRI, with sovereignty in the hands of the people carried out entirely by the People's Consultative Assembly, MPR, which will be formed later. After that Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta were elected on the proposal of Otto Iskandar Dinata and the approval of PPKI as the first President and Vice President of the Republic of Indonesia. The President and Vice President will be assisted by a national committee.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
Indonesia's territory is very broad. Communication and transportation around 1945 are still very limited. In addition, obstacles and prohibitions to spread the news of the proclamation by Japanese forces in Indonesia were a number of factors which caused the news of the proclamation to be delayed in a number of areas, especially outside Java. But with full determination and fighting spirit, in the end the proclamation was known by all the people of Indonesia. More details follow the discussion below. The spread of the Proclamation of Independence on August 17, 1945 in the Jakarta area could be done quickly and soon spread widely. That same day, the text of the proclamation reached the head of radio section of the Dome office, now in Thera News, Waden B. Palanuan. He received the text of the proclamation from a Dome reporter named Syarudin. Then he ordered F.Was, a Marconist, so that the news of the proclamation was broadcast 3 times in a row. Only 2 times F.Was did his job. The Japanese entered the radio room while angry, knowing that the news of the proclamation had spread out through the air. Although the Japanese ordered the termination of the proclamation news broadcast, but Waden Palanuan still asked F.Was to continue broadcasting. News of the Proclamation of Independence was repeated every half hour until 1600 hours when the broadcast stopped. As a result of the broadcasting, the leadership of the Japanese army on Java ordered to correct the news and declare it a mistake. On August 20, 1945 the transmitter was sealed by Japan and its employees were barred from entering. Even though the transmitter at the Dome office was sealed, the young men together with Josuvranata Puro, a news reader at Radio Dome, turned out to make a new transmitter with the help of radio technicians, including Sukarman, Sutamto, Susila Harja, and Suhandar. They established a new transmitter in Mentong 31, with the calling code DJK1. From here the news of the Proclamation of Independence was broadcast later.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
Efforts and struggles of young people in disseminating news of the proclamation were also carried out through press media and leaflets. Almost all daily in Java published on August 20, 1945 contained news of the Proclamation of Independence and the Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia. Suara Asia Daily in Surabaya is the first newspaper that contains the proclamation news. Some youth leaders who fought through the press media included B.M. Daya, Sayuda Melik, and Sumanang. The Proclamation of Independence was also disseminated to the people of Indonesia through the installation of placards, posters and graffiti on the walls and railroad cars, for example with the slogan Respect Our Constitution, August 17. Honor Our Constitution, August 17. Through various means and media, finally the news of the proclamation of Indonesian independence can be widely spread in the territory of Indonesia and abroad. Despite using a lot of media and means of distribution, before 2005, the Dutch as the Indonesian invaders did not recognize Indonesian independence in 1945, de facto, but in 1949 on 27 December as the Union recognized, de jure, because they argued that in 1945, power in Indonesia is handed over to the Allies, not freed by Japan. Besides, through the mass media, the proclamation news was also spread directly by the regional envoys who attended the PPKI session. The following are PPKI delegates who helped spread the proclamation news.
Don't forget subscribe AndyHannGs.
Every year on August 17th, the people of Indonesia celebrate this Independence Day of Independence with great fanfare. Various competitions were presented, starting from the Arica climbing competition, the cracker eating competition, to the military ceremony at the Merdeka Palace, and the entire community participated in their own way. The second's commemoration of the proclamation at the Merdeka Palace was led by the President of the Republic of Indonesia as the ceremony inspector. The ceremony starts at around 10 o'clock WIB to commemorate the beginning of the proclamation ceremony in 1945. The memorial ceremony is usually broadcast live by all Indonesian national television stations. Events in the morning included, firing of cannons and sirens, raising the Sangsaka Merah Putih, Indonesian flag, reading the manuscript of the proclamation, and so forth. In the afternoon at around 1700 hours there was a ceremony to reduce the Sangsaka Merah Putih flag. Obligation to fly the flag law of the Republic of Indonesia number 24 of 2009 concerning flags, languages and symbols of the state as well as the national anthem. Article 7 paragraph 3 regulates the obligation to fly the red and white flag for every citizen who has the right to use a house, office building, education unit, public transportation and private transportation within the territory of the Republic of Indonesia, as well as Indonesian diplomatic representative offices abroad on 17 August.
Thanks for watching.